I remember the exact sound the receipt made when I folded it. A thin, dry crackle, like old paper in a quiet room. It was 6:42 p.m. when I slipped it into my wallet. The cashier at Walgreens had wished me a good evening. Without looking up, her nails clicking against the register keys. Outside, the air smelled faintly of rain and gasoline. I stood there for a moment, holding the small plastic bag, staring at it longer than necessary. 2 items inside. A birthday card, $1.29, blue, with a generic "for you," son printed in silver letters that tried too hard to look expensive, and a scratch-off lottery ticket, $1, total, $2.29 with tax. I paid in cash. I always pay in cash for small things. Old habit. My wife, Eleanor, used to say it made money feel real. That was before hospitals started taking it away in quiet, efficient installments. $18,700 for the first surgery, $42,300 for the second, and then the smaller, more frequent charges that somehow hurt more. But that was 3 years ago. Now it was just me, a receipt, and a $2 gift for my son's 45th birthday. I drove home slowly. The Buick made that soft humming noise it had developed sometime around 2018, like it was tired but too polite to complain. The dashboard clock was 7 minutes fast. I never fixed it. I liked being early, even if it was a lie, at 7:18 or 7:11, depending on which truth you preferred. I pulled into Daniel's driveway. The house looked exactly the way it always did. Aggressively neat. Perfect lawn. Identical hedges trimmed into obedient squares. Warm yellow lights behind large windows meant to impress people who didn't know better. I sat in the car for a moment. There's a pause that comes with age. Not hesitation. Something else. A quiet calculation of energy, of whether something is worth stepping into. Then I picked up the bag and got out. Inside it smelled like roasted chicken, garlic, and something sweet. Probably that overpriced vanilla candle his wife insisted on burning during family dinners. I wiped my shoes carefully on the mat. Old habits again. Dad, Daniel said, not getting up from the table. You made it. His tone suggested mild surprise, like I was a delivery that arrived earlier than expected. I said I would, I replied. Lisa, his wife, glanced at the bag in my hand before offering a tight smile. Dinner's almost ready, she said. We didn't know if you'd remember the time. I wrote it down. That was not a joke. I actually had 7:30 p.m., Saturday, April 12th, written in black ink on the small calendar by my kitchen fridge. My grandson Tyler didn't look up from his phone. My granddaughter Sophie gave me a quick "Hi, Grandpa," already halfway back into whatever world lived behind her screen. I took my usual seat, end of a table. Not assigned, but understood. There were details I noticed automatically. There always are. The plates new. White porcelain, thin rim, probably $80 for a set. The wine glasses, mismatched. One slightly chipped at the base. The roast chicken, overcooked by about 5 minutes. Skin too dark at the edges. And Daniel, expensive watch. New. I'd seen it online a week ago when he sent me a link just to show. $6,800. Swiss. Mechanical. The kind of thing you don't need, but buy anyway when you want to feel like you've made it. Before we eat, Lisa said, clapping her hands lightly. Let's do gifts. Of course. Daniel leaned back, smiling in that way that never quite reached his eyes. You didn't have to bring anything, Dad, he said. Really? But his gaze was already on the bag. I handed it to him. It's nothing big, I said. That was true. He opened it casually, pulling out the card first. He didn't read it, just glanced, then set it aside. Then he pulled out the lottery ticket. There was a pause, a small one, but I felt it. Lisa leaned forward slightly. Oh, she said. Tyler looked up. Is that a scratcher? Daniel turned the ticket over in his hand like it was something mildly confusing. A lottery ticket? He said. Yes. Another pause. Slightly longer this time. Then he laughed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough. $1, he said, looking at Lisa. You got me a $1 lottery ticket? It was what they had at the register. I replied evenly. He shook his head, still smiling. That's amazing. Lisa laughed too. Softer, but sharper. Well, she said, if you win, we expect at least half. Half. Tyler said, I want half. Sophie giggled. Daniel held the ticket up like it was a prop in a joke. You hear that, Dad? He said. You might have just changed our lives here. I nodded. Stranger things have happened. Yeah, he said, placing the ticket on the table like it was something slightly dirty, but probably not today. The room settled into that comfortable, practiced amusement, the kind people use when they've agreed, without saying it, that something is ridiculous. I picked up my fork. The chicken was dry. No one noticed. Or maybe they did and didn't care. Speaking of money, Lisa said, cutting into her portion. Daniel was telling me you haven't transferred the April support yet. There it was, right on time. I plan to do it Monday, I said. It's already the 12th, she replied. The mortgage comes out on the 15th. I'm aware. Daniel waved a hand, still chewing. It's fine. Just try not to leave it last minute. Okay? Things are tight right now. Things are tight. I let that sit in my mind for a moment. Tight. In a house worth $920,000. With a kitchen renovation I had partially paid for $38,000 in September 2024, I remembered the exact wire transfer. And a car in the driveway that cost more than my first apartment. Tight. How much is it this month? I asked. Lisa didn't hesitate. Same as usual. $3,500, plus the $800 for Tyler's school trip. We mentioned that, right? You did. And the insurance adjustment, she added. Another $420. I nodded slowly. Of course. Daniel raised his glass. To family, he said. We all drank. The wine was decent. Not great. About $25 a bottle, if I had to guess. I used to be better at guessing. Eleanor and I would make a game of it. Blind tastings, cheap bottles, pretending to be expensive. Expensive ones pretending not to care. I swallowed and set the glass down carefully. Across from me, the lottery ticket sat untouched, a thin piece of paper, worth exactly $1. Or nothing. Depends how you look at it. Dinner continued. Conversations moved in circles, school work, a neighbor's new fence, rising costs of everything. At 8:56 p.m., Daniel finally picked up the coin. Let's see if Dad made us millionaires, he said. He scratched lazily, half interested, already smiling at the joke before it landed. I watched his hand, steady, confident, careless. He scratched one row, then another. Then he stopped, just for a second, a flicker. Anything? Lisa asked. Nothing, he said quickly, tossing the ticket back onto the table. Face down this time. We finished dinner at 9:20. I helped clear the plates. Lisa didn't thank me. She never does. Not out of malice, I think. Just omission. Like forgetting to close a cabinet door. At 9:47, I put on my coat. Drive safe, Daniel said. Already halfway, turned toward his phone. I always do. I stepped outside. The air was colder now. The kind that settles into your joints before you notice it. I walked to my car slowly, feeling the familiar weight of the evening pressing down. Not heavy, just present, like something that had been building quietly for a long time. Inside the house, through the window, I could see them laughing about something. Probably not me, but maybe. It didn't matter. I sat in the driver's seat and didn't start the engine right away. Instead, I reached into my pocket and took out the duplicate receipt. I always ask for one when I buy lottery tickets. Another habit. April 12.6:42 p.m. Walgreens, number 1783. Ticket number 00458291. I looked at the numbers for a long time. Then I smiled. Not wide, not warm. Just enough. Because Daniel was wrong about one thing. It wasn't a $1 ticket. And it definitely wasn't nothing. If you believe older voices still matter, support this channel with a like and a subscription. If you live long enough, you start keeping ledgers in your head, not the kind banks use. Though I had plenty of those, neatly filed in a gray metal cabinet by the window. Statements, confirmations, wire receipts. Dates stamped in black ink. Numbers aligned with machine precision. No, I mean a different kind of ledger. The quiet one. The one where you remember who asked, how they asked, and what they look like when you said yes. It doesn't balance the way money does. It lingers. And mine by April 12th was very full. It hadn't started this way. Nothing ever does. Back in 2011, Daniel still said thank you without being reminded. He still called me on Sundays, sometimes just to talk. About work, about nothing. About the weather in a tone that suggested it mattered. That was the year he first asked for real money. We were sitting in my old kitchen. The one Eleanor had insisted on painting that pale green color that never quite matched anything else. The refrigerator hummed too loudly, and the faucet dripped every 9 seconds. I never fixed it. She used to say it sounded like a metronome for a slow life. I found place, Daniel said, spreading out printed listings across the table. 3 bedrooms. Good area. Schools are solid. How much? $480,000. He said it quickly, like ripping off a bandage. I remember folding my hands, looking at the numbers. Mortgage estimates scribbled in the margins. Interest rates circled in blue pen. And how much do you have? I asked. He hesitated. About $22,000. I nodded. Closing costs alone will be more than that. I know. He leaned forward. That's why I wanted to talk to you. Of course. Eleanor was still alive then. She sat at the far end of the table, quiet, watching him in that way she had, not unkind, but precise, like she was measuring something invisible. How much are you asking for? I said. Daniel cleared his throat. $80,000 for the down payment. Maybe a little more to be safe. 80,000. At the time, it was not a small number. It still isn't, despite what people pretend. Eleanor spoke before I could. And what happens after that, she asked calmly. Monthly payments, maintenance, taxes? I can handle it, he said quickly. I just need help getting in. She looked at me. Not long. Not dramatically. Just enough. That look meant, think. I did. For about 10 seconds. Then I said yes. The transfer went through on June 3rd, 2011. $85,000. I remember adding 5 more just in case. There's always a just in case. It's how these things grow. Daniel called me that evening. Dad, I don't even know what to say. You already said it. No, I mean it. This changes everything. Yes, I said. It does. At the time, I thought I meant his life. I didn't realize it would also quietly reshape mine. The next request came smaller. They always do. December 2012. Christmas lights still up. Half of them burned out because no one bothered replacing the bulbs anymore. Dad, quick question. Daniel said over the phone. We're a little short this month. Unexpected expenses. How much? $5,000. Just to cover things until January. I transferred it the next morning. No discussion. No conditions. A week later, I received a text. Thanks again. No call. By 2014, had become routine. That's the word people like to use when something questionable becomes normal. Routine. March, $3,200 for car issues. June, $7,500 for roof repairs. September, $4,800 for school enrollment fees. Each time, the explanation came first. The request followed. Gratitude increasingly brief. Close the loop. I kept records. Date, amount, description. Not because I didn't trust him. Because Eleanor did. You think I'm being paranoid, she said once, watching me file another receipt. I think you're being thorough. I think I'm watching a pattern, she replied. What pattern? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she poured tea, sat down, looked at me over the rim of the cup. The pattern where help becomes expectation, she said quietly. And expectation becomes entitlement. I didn't like that word. Entitlement is a strong accusation. It's not an accusation, she said. It's a trajectory. That was in October 2014. I wrote it down later. Not the exact words, just the date and a note. Eleanor concerned. I didn't act on it. She died in February 2019, 8:17 a.m. Hospital room 312. The machine made a long, uninterrupted tone that was somehow both sharp and empty. I remember the nurse turning it off quickly, like silence would make it easier. It didn't. What followed was administrative. Funeral, $18,600. Medical bills, final settlement, $64,200. Miscellaneous expenses, another $9,000, give or take. Money moved, paper signed, condolences delivered in measured tones. Daniel was there, of course. He hugged me. I'm here for you, Dad, he said. I believed him for a while. The first transfer after Eleanor's death came exactly 11 days later, February 26th, 2019. Dad, I hate to even bring this up right now, but that's how it started. There's always a phrase people use when they know timing is inconvenient, but proceed anyway. I hate to bring this up. What is it? I asked. We're behind on the mortgage this month. Just everything happening. We didn't plan well. How much? $2, 800. I looked at the calendar. 11 days. Of course, I said. And I meant it. Grief does strange things to judgment. It softens edges that should stay sharp. After that, the numbers grew more structured. Not larger at first. Just more consistent. April 2019, $2,800. May 2019, $2,800. June 2019, $3,000. Insurance adjustment. By September, it had stabilized at $3,200 per month. Just until we get back on our feet, Daniel said. Feet, I noticed, never quite arrived at the ground. Lisa became more involved around that time. Her tone was always polite, efficient. We've worked out a system, she told me one evening in 2020, placing a printed sheet in front of me. This just makes everything clearer. It was a breakdown. Mortgage contribution, $2,500. Utilities share, $400. Family support, $300. Total, $3,200. It's easier this way, she said, so nothing gets missed. Nothing gets missed. I studied the paper. You've categorized me, I said. She smiled. No, we've organized things. Daniel nodded beside her. It just helps everyone stay on the same page. Everyone. I signed nothing. There was nothing to sign, but I paid every month. By 2022, the total had crossed $400,000. I know because I added it up one evening in November. Rain against the windows. Radio playing something soft and forgettable. $412,700. That's the number that stared back at me, not including the original $85,000, not including occasional extras, birthdays, school trips, emergencies. Just the steady monthly current. I remember leaning back in my chair. The house was quiet, too quiet. That's a lot of money, I said out loud. No one answered. The tone changed subtly after that. Requests became assumptions. Dad, we'll need the transfer by Friday. Don't forget Tyler's tuition adjustment, $1,200. We added $300 this month for groceries. Hope that's okay. Hope that's okay. It was a question. It was a notification disguised as courtesy. And then there were the moments that didn't involve money directly. Those matter too. Like the time in March 2023, when I arrived 10 minutes early and heard Lisa speaking in the kitchen, not realizing I was already inside. He doesn't even notice, she was saying. It's just automatic for him now. Daniel laughed. Well, as long as he keeps up. I stepped into the hallway loudly enough for him to hear. Conversation stopped instantly. Dad, Daniel said, appearing a second later. You're early. I noticed, I replied. Lisa smiled, already composed. We were just talking about bills, she said. Of course you were. By early 2024, the monthly amount had quietly increased to $3,500. No formal discussion, just drift, like everything else. And I kept paying. Not because I didn't see it, but because seeing something and acting on it are two very different things, especially when the something is your own child. So yes, by the time I handed Daniel that $2 gift on April 12th, 2026, it wasn't really about the ticket, or the laughter, or even the money, not exactly. It was about the ledger. Years of small entries, quiet adjustments, moments filed away without resolution, and somewhere, buried under all those numbers and polite conversations, a simple realization had finally settled in. I wasn't helping anymore. I was being used. The difference is subtle, until it isn't. There are moments in life that don't announce themselves. No music, no warning, just a small shift in the air. And afterward, nothing is the same. Mine came on a Tuesday, April 15th, 2026.2:18 p.m. I remember the time because I looked at the microwave clock while reheating yesterday's soup. Chicken again. I had learned over the years to cook for one without pretending otherwise. One plate, one spoon, one chair pulled out. The phone rang just as the microwave beeped. Daniel. I let it ring twice before answering. No reason, just habit. Dad, he said. Quick thing. Did you send the transfer? Yes, I replied. This morning. Perfect. Listen, I'm heading into a meeting, but Lisa might call you about the insurance adjustment. Just pick up if you can. I'm usually here. Right. Okay. Talk later. The line clicked dead. I stood there for a moment, spoon in hand, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator. Then I sat down and ate. Lisa called at 4 p.m., right on schedule. "Hi," she said. No greeting, just the word, flat and efficient. "Quick clarification on the transfer." "What clarification?" "The amount was short. It was $3,500, I said, as discussed. "Right, but we added the insurance adjustment. I mentioned that on Saturday." "You mentioned $420, I said. "I included it." There was a pause, papers shuffling on her end. Then, "No, the updated figure is $620. "Since when?" "Since yesterday." "Yesterday." I took a slow breath. I wasn't informed of that. "Well, I'm informing you now," she said, as if correcting a minor clerical error. "I'll review it," I replied. Another pause, sharper this time. "Review it?" she repeated. "Yes. It's just $200. "I understand. So you'll send it?" I said, "I'll review it." Silence. Then a small, controlled exhale. "Fine," she said. "Just don't delay too long. Things are scheduled." "Scheduled." "Of course," I said. She hung up without saying goodbye. I washed the dishes slowly after that. Hot water, soap, the familiar rhythm of something that made sense. Rinse, place, repeat. At 3:27 p.m., my phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Lisa. I frowned. She rarely left voicemails. She preferred direct communication, efficient, controlled. I dried my hands and pressed play. At first, there was nothing, just background noise, movement, the faint echo of what sounded like a car door closing. Then her voice. He's starting to push back. Clear, unfiltered. I didn't move. Another voice responded. "Daniel, it's $200, Lisa. Don't make a thing." "It's not about $200, she snapped, her tone sharper than I'd ever heard it directed at me. "It's about control." Control. A pause. Then Daniel again. Lower now. "He's 72. "What control?" 72. Interesting how age becomes a number when it's useful. Lisa exhaled loudly. "The kind that keeps us dependent," she said. "As long as he's managing the accounts, we're at his mercy." My hand tightened slightly around the phone. "Accounts. What do you want me to do?" Daniel asked. There was a rustling sound. Maybe papers. Maybe just movement. "I already talked to Mark," she said. "Mark." That name I knew. Attorney. Estate planning. I had met him once briefly at a dinner 2 years ago. Firm handshake. Too smooth. "What did he say?" Daniel asked. "He said it's straightforward if we position it correctly." A beat. Position what correctly? Daniel's voice had that edge now. Not resistance. Just caution. "Diminished capacity," Lisa said. The words landed cleanly. No hesitation. No softening. Just placed. I sat down slowly. The chair made a quiet scraping sound against the floor. On the recording, Daniel didn't speak immediately. Then, "That's a bit extreme, don't you think?" "Extreme." Lisa laughed. Not kindly. "Daniel, he forgets things. He writes everything down like he's afraid of missing something. He lives alone. It's not a stretch." "I don't know." "You don't know or you don't want to know?" She cut in. "Because those are different problems." Silence. Then she continued, calmer now. More deliberate. "If we get power of attorney, we streamline everything. No more waiting for transfers. No more I'll review it. We manage the assets properly." "Assets? That's his money," Daniel said, but it sounded weak, like a sentence he wasn't fully committed to. "It's family money," she corrected. "And right now it's being mismanaged." Mismanaged? I almost smiled. 45 years managing electrical systems, budgets, investments, and suddenly mismanaged. "What about him?" Daniel asked quietly. "What about him?" Lisa echoed. If we do this, she interrupted, "he's taken care of. Comfortable. Safe. That's the whole point. Safe." There was a pause long enough for me to hear traffic in the background. Then, softly, "There's a place," she added. "Shady Grove. Memory care. $6,200 a month. We can afford it easily once we consolidate everything." Shady Grove. I wrote that down later. But in that moment, I just listened. "Lisa," Daniel started. But she didn't let him finish. "Daniel, your father has over $2 million in liquid assets, sitting, doing nothing, while we're juggling payments every month. $2 million. So they knew, or at least enough. He's not going to spend it, she continued. He's not going to enjoy it. And eventually, she stopped. Didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. Eventually. The recording ended with a soft click. No goodbye. No resolution. Just silence. I sat there for a long time. The room felt different. Not colder. Not darker. Just clarified. Like a lens had been adjusted without my permission. Diminished capacity. Power of attorney. Shady Grove. $2 million. The ledger in my head shifted. Entries rearranged themselves. Not new, just reinterpreted. The $85,000 in 2011. The steady $3, $200 $3, $503,920. The laughter over a $1 ticket. The word control. I stood up, eventually, walked to the small desk by the window, opened the gray metal cabinet, folders, neatly labeled, 2011 to 2015, 2016 to 2020, 2021 to 2026. I pull them out one by one, stacked them on the desk, paper against wood, a soft, deliberate sound. Then I opened a new folder, blank, untouched. I took a pen, wrote the date at the top, April 15th, 2026, paused, then added a single line beneath it. They think I don't understand. I capped the pen carefully, set it down, and for the first time in years, I felt something clean and precise settle into place. Not anger, not even hurt, something quieter, decision. Because there's a difference between being generous and being prepared, and Daniel, for all his confidence, had just made one very expensive mistake. He forgot who taught him how to keep accounts. There is a particular kind of calm that comes after clarity, not peace, not relief, just order. On April 16th, 2026, at exactly 9:10 a.m., I made coffee the way Eleanor used to, 2 little spoons, not heaping. Water just below boiling. The kettle clicked softly when it was ready. I poured slowly, watching the surface settle. Small rituals matter. They remind you that not everything has been taken. I sat at the kitchen table with my notebook open and the folders stacked to my right. Sunlight fell across the pages at an angle that made the ink look darker than it was. I wrote a list, not long, just precise. Accounts attorney access timing. I underlined the last one twice. Timing, I had learned, was the only real leverage left once trust was gone. The first call was to the bank. 10:02 a.m. Good morning, Mr. Whitaker, the woman said. How can I assist you today? Her name was Angela. I knew because I'd been working with that branch for 12 years. Same building. Same faint smell of carpet cleaner and old paper. I'd like to review all authorized users on my accounts, I said. Of course. One moment. Keyboard clicks. A pause. I see one additional authorized user. Daniel Whitaker. Added May 14th, 2019. That tracked. Eleanor had just passed. Paperwork had been fluid. I'd like to remove him, I said. Another pause. Slightly longer. May I ask if there's been an issue? Yes, I replied. There has. I understand. We can process that immediately. For security purposes, I'll need to verify. I'll come in, I said. In person. That would be best. The branch hadn't changed. Same glass doors. Same promotional posters about retirement planning that always feature people who looked too relaxed to be real. Angela was younger than I expected. Late 30s, maybe. Efficient eyes. Mr. Whitaker, she said, shaking my hand. Let's take care of this. We sat in her office. Door closed. She turned the screen slightly so I could see. Here are your current accounts, she said. Checking. Savings. Investment portfolio. Total balance. $2,184,330.17. Numbers don't impress me anymore, but they do clarify things. I'd like to make a few changes, I said. By 11:26 a.m., the structure of my finances looked very different. Daniel's access revoked. Primary checking account closed. Funds redistributed across 3 new accounts under a trust structure I had originally set up in 2018, but never fully activated. Eleanor had insisted on it. You plan for storms when the sky is clear, she used to say. I hadn't listened then. I was listening now. Would you like to set any transfer limits? Angela asked. Yes. How much? I thought for a moment. 0, I said. She blinked. No external transfers without my direct authorization. in person. Understood. And I want alerts, I added, for any access attempts, any inquiries, everything. Of course. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. Done. Clean. Contained. The second call was at 1:40 p.m. Mark Reynolds. I still had his card. White. Minimalist. Expensive paper. Reynolds and Carter. Estate and Asset Law. He answered on the third ring. Mark Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds, I said. This is Thomas Whitaker. We met briefly in 2024 at Daniel's house. A pause. Then recognition. Yes, of course. How can I help you? His tone shifted immediately. Warmer. Professional. I'd like to schedule a consultation, I said, regarding asset protection. Certainly. Is this about updating your estate plan? No, I said. It's about preventing someone else from updating it for me. Silence. Brief, but meaningful. I see, he said. Tomorrow at 10 a.m.? That works. His office was on the 14th floor of a building that tried too hard to look modern. Glass everywhere. Sharp edges. No warmth. Mark himself hadn't changed. Same measured smile. Same eyes that calculated while pretending not to. Mr. Whitaker, he said, gesturing to a chair. What seems to be the concern? I didn't waste time. I understand you've recently advised my son and his wife on matters related to my financial capacity. He didn't react immediately. Good. He was practiced. I'm not sure I follow, he said carefully. I took out my phone, placed it on the table. Press play. Diminished capacity. His expression didn't collapse, but it did tighten. Slightly. That was enough. The recording ended. Silence filled the space between us. I see, he said finally. Yes, I replied. You do. He leaned back, steepled his fingers. Mr. Whitaker, I want to be very clear. I have not taken any formal action on behalf of your son. Yet. That is correct. I nodded. I'm here to make sure you never do. Another pause. Longer this time. Then he exhaled. What would you like to put in place? We worked for 2 hours. Precise. Methodical. No emotion. Just structure. By 12:32 p.m., the following had been drafted. A revocation of all prior and formal permissions regarding financial access, a formal notice of non-consent to any competency evaluation not initiated by male legal directive requiring independent medical assessment. Before any claim of diminished capacity could be filed, a restructuring of my trust, placing full control in the hands of a third-party fiduciary in the event of dispute. And one more thing. Add a clause, I said. What kind of clause? In the event that any immediate family member attempts to assert control over my assets through misrepresentation or coercion. He waited. They are to be removed entirely from any inheritance consideration. That one he looked at me for. Directly. Are you certain? He asked. Yes. No partial allocation? No conditions? No. I folded my hands. Actions should have consequences, I said. He nodded slowly. Very well. The final step was timing. That's the part people underestimate. They think preparation is enough. It isn't. Preparation without timing is just potential. I needed a moment, a setting, something public enough that denial would be difficult. And then I remembered. April 19th, Sunday, Lisa's birthday. They were planning a dinner, bigger than usual, extended family, friends. I had received the message 2 days earlier. Dinner at 6. Don't be late. No please. No question. Just instruction. Perfect. That evening, I sat in my living room with the documents spread out neatly on the coffee table. Everything in order. Everything signed. Everything final. The house was quiet. It always is. But that night it felt different. Not empty. Just mine again. I looked at Eleanor's photograph on the shelf. Same one as always. Same calm expression. You were right, I said. The room, as expected, did not answer. But I didn't need it to, because for the first time in years, the ledger in my head wasn't just recording anymore. It was closing, and in 3 days, I intended to collect. Lisa's birthday dinner started at exactly 6:08 p.m., 8 minutes late, which in their house counted as punctual. I arrived at 5:52. Old habits. Deliberate this time. The driveway was already half full. Daniel's black Lexus, freshly washed, a silver Audi I didn't recognize. and a blue SUV with a dented rear bumper that suggested someone who drove carelessly and parked worse. Inside, the house was louder than usual. Voices layered over each other. Glasses clinking. That same vanilla candle, now doubled, thick in the air like something trying to cover a smell that didn't exist. "Dad," Daniel said when he saw me. "Early. I prefer it that way." He nodded, distracted, already turning back to his guests. Lisa appeared a moment later, dressed carefully, navy blue, understated but intentional. The kind of outfit that says effort without admitting it. "You made it," she said. "I was invited." A pause. Then the smile returned, thinner this time. "Drinks are on the table," she said. "We'll sit soon." By 6:21, there were 9 of us. Daniel and Lisa at the center. 2 couples I vaguely recognized from previous dinners. One man introduced as Greg from the firm. And me. At the end of the table again. Always the end. Plates were larger tonight. New again. Matching this time. Progress. The food was better too. Catered, I realized. Not Lisa's cooking. Roasted salmon, asparagus. Something with truffle oil that announced itself too loudly. "Let's make a toast," Daniel said at 6:34, raising his glass. To Lisa. "For everything she does." Glasses lifted. Smiles exchanged. To Lisa, we echoed. She tilted her head slightly, accepting it like something expected. "Thank you," she said. "I try to keep things running smoothly." Her eyes flicked toward me for half a second. Smoothly. I drank. Conversation moved easily after that. Work stories. Market trends. Someone mentioned interest rates. Greg, mid-40s, confident in the way men get when they think numbers make them important. Leaned forward. "Real estate's still strong if you know where to look," he said. "We just closed a deal last month, $1.3 million, under asking." "Nice," Daniel said. "We've been thinking about upgrading." "Upgrading." Lisa nodded. "Something with more space. Better layout." "For the kids," Daniel added quickly. "Of course." Greg glanced at me. "And you, sir," he said. "Still in the same place?" "Yes. Must be worth a fortune now." "Value is a flexible concept," I replied. He laughed, not quite understanding. At 7:02, the conversation shifted, as it always did, toward money. Not directly. Never directly. Just orbiting it. "Expenses keep creeping up," Lisa said, cutting into her salmon. "You think you've got things under control." And then she made a small gesture with her hand, like something slipping away. "Tell me about it," one of the women said. "Kids alone." "It's not just kids," Lisa continued. "It's everything. You need structure. Support." Support. She didn't look at me this time. She didn't have to. Daniel cleared his throat. "Speaking of which," he said, turning slightly in his chair. "Dad, did you get a chance to review that adjustment we talked about?" There it was, right on schedule. 9 people at the table. "Perfect." "I did," I said. "And?" Lisa asked. I set my fork down carefully. The room didn't quiet immediately. Conversations overlapped for another second or two before something in my posture, or maybe just instinct, shifted the attention. 9 faces, waiting. "I've decided not to proceed with it," I said. Silence. Clean. Immediate. Daniel blinked. "Not to proceed?" "With the additional $200, I clarified. "Or any future adjustments." Lisa's smile didn't disappear. It hardened. "I'm sorry," she said. "I don't think I understand." "I imagine that's uncomfortable," I replied. A ripple moved through the table, subtle but present. Daniel leaned forward. "Dad, if this is about timing." "It isn't." "Then what is it about?" I looked at him, really looked. 45 years condensed into a single, quiet moment. "It's about ending a pattern," I said. No one spoke. Greg shifted in his seat. Lisa set her fork down. "What pattern?" she asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. "The one where my financial support is treated as an obligation," I said, "rather than what it is." "And what is it?" Daniel asked. "A choice." The word landed heavier than I expected. Lisa let out a small laugh. "Come on," she said. "No one's forcing you." "No," I agreed. "You're just planning around me." Another pause. Sharper now. "I don't think this is the time," Daniel started. "No," I said. "This is exactly the time." I reached into my jacket. Not quickly. Not dramatically. Just deliberately. The envelope made a soft sound as I placed it on the table. Thick, cream-colored, sealed. Lisa's eyes dropped to it immediately. "What's that?" she asked. "Clarity," I said. Daniel frowned. "Dad." "Open it." He hesitated. Then under the weight of 9 pairs of eyes, he did. The paper slid out smoothly. Multiple pages. Legal letterhead. His eyes moved across the first lines, then stopped. "What is this?" he said, though the answer was already in front of him. "A formal notice," I replied. "Effective immediately." Lisa leaned closer. "What notice?" I answered before Daniel could. "That all financial transfers from me to you have ceased," I said. "Permanently." The words hung in the air. "Heaven. Final." "That's not funny," Lisa said. "I'm not trying to be." Daniel looked up. "Dad, we rely on that money." "I'm aware." "You can't just—" "I can," I said. Quietly, firmly. He stared at me. For the first time that evening, perhaps for the first time in years, there was no confidence in his expression, just uncertainty. Lisa reached for the papers, scanning them quickly. Her eyes moved faster than his, more precise. Then she stopped, right where I expected her to. Her fingers tightened slightly on the page. "What is this?" she said again. But this time her voice had changed. Less control, more edge. I folded my hands. "That," I said, "is the part you should have considered before discussing my diminished capacity in a parked car." For a moment, no one moved. It's a strange thing, watching a room full of people realize they've just stepped into something they don't understand. Conversations die differently in those moments, not gradually, but all at once, like someone cut the wire. Daniel looked at me, then at Lisa, then back at the papers. "What are you talking about?" he said finally. His voice had lost something, not volume, structure. Lisa didn't look at me, not yet. Her eyes were still scanning the document, faster now, sharper. She flipped to the second page, then the third. "Daniel," she said quietly. That got his attention. "What?" "Read paragraph 4. He did. I watched his face as the words settled in. Legal language has a particular weight. It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It just states, any attempt to assert financial control through claims of diminished capacity without independent medical verification shall constitute grounds for immediate legal action. He swallowed. "This is ridiculous," he said. But the conviction wasn't there. "Is it?" I asked. Lisa finally looked up, and there it was. Not anger. Not yet. Calculation. "You recorded us," she said. "Yes. That's illegal in some states." "We're not in those states." A pause. She held my gaze for a second longer than necessary, measuring. Then she shifted tactics. "You're misunderstanding," she said, her tone smoothing out again. "We were talking hypothetically, out of concern." "Concern," I repeated. "Yes, for your well-being." I nodded slowly. "Of course." Daniel pushed his chair back slightly. "Dad, if this is about that conversation—" "It is. You're blowing it out of proportion." "Am I?" "Yes," he said more firmly now. "We were just discussing options. You forget things sometimes. You said it yourself." "I forget where I leave my glasses," I replied. "Not where my money goes." A few quiet chuckles flickered around the table. Nervous, quickly suppressed. Lisa noticed. Her jaw tightened. "This isn't appropriate," she said, glancing at the others. "We shouldn't be having this conversation in front of guests." "No," I agreed. "We shouldn't have been having it in a car, either." That landed. Harder this time. Greg shifted again, clearly wishing he were somewhere else. One of the women reached for her wine glass and didn't drink. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. "Okay," he said. "Let's just calm down." "I am calm." "No, he stopped himself. "You're making a mistake." I tilted my head slightly. "Explain." "You're cutting off support over a misunderstanding," he said. "Over one conversation." "One conversation?" I echoed. I leaned forward slightly. "March 2012, $5,000. Just until January. Never mentioned again." He blinked. "April 2014, $7,500 for roof repairs. I paid the contractor directly. He told me the job cost for." Daniel's mouth opened, closed. September 2019, $3,200 became a monthly expectation. I continued, without discussion. "Dad." December 2022. "You said things were tight the same week you bought a $6,000 watch." Lisa's eyes flicked to his wrist. Instinct. I let the silence stretch. Not long. Just enough. This isn't about one conversation, I said quietly. It's about a pattern. Documented. Repeated. Ignored. Daniel's face had changed now. The confidence was gone. In its place, something closer to panic. You kept track of all that? He asked. Yes. Why? The question hung there. Why? I considered it for a moment. Because someone had to, I said. Lisa exhaled sharply. This is absurd, she said. You're acting like we've done something wrong for accepting help you offered. Accepted? I said. I reached into my jacket again. Another envelope. Thinner this time. I slid it across the table. To clarify that point. She didn't hesitate. Opened it immediately. Inside, printed statements. Highlighted lines. Dates circled. Her eyes moved quickly, then stopped. Again, right where I expected. Daniel, she said, quieter now. He leaned over. Read. His face strained. What is that? One of the guests asked, unable to hold back anymore. No one answered. I did. Bank records, I said, showing transfers made from my account into a joint account that was opened in 2020. Daniel looked up sharply. That was for convenience, he said quickly. Was it? Yes. You said it yourself. I said I trusted you. Silence. Heavy now. Uncomfortable. How much? Greg asked before he could stop himself. I glanced at him, then back at Daniel. Would you like to answer that? I said. Daniel didn't. Couldn't. So I did. $742,000, I said. The number settled over the table like dust. Fine. Inescapable. No, Daniel said immediately. That's not. It is, I said. I verified it yesterday. Lisa closed her eyes briefly. Just a flicker. Then she straightened. This is still your choice, she said. You gave that money willingly. Yes. And now you're trying to take it back? No. I shook my head. I'm simply ensuring there's nothing left to take. That's when it hit him. Properly. Not the numbers. Not the documents. The shift. Dad, he said. And this time there was something raw in it. You're overreacting. I looked at him. Really looked. I don't think you understand yet, I said. Then explain it to me. So I did. Slowly. Clearly. Your access to my accounts has been revoked, I said. All transfers have stopped. Permanently. Lisa's lips parted slightly. I continued. My estate has been restructured. Any attempt to challenge my capacity will trigger legal action. Daniel shook his head. No, you wouldn't. And, I added, any family member involved in such an attempt has been removed from inheritance consideration. That was the one. The real one. Lisa went still. Completely still. Daniel stared at me like he hadn't heard correctly. You're what? He said. Disinherited? I clarified. If you proceed. Silence. Not uncomfortable now. Just final. Across the table. Someone set their glass down very carefully, as if sudden movements might make things worse. Daniel leaned back slowly, like the air had been taken out of him. Lisa didn't move at all. Her eyes were fixed on the paper in front of her, reading, rereading, calculating. For the first time that evening, no one had anything to say, and for the first time in years, neither did I. The dinner ended without ceremony. No one said it was over. No one stood to make a polite excuse. It simply dissolved. Chairs moved quietly. Glasses were left half full. Someone muttered something about an early morning. Greg avoided eye contact entirely, slipping out with the careful politeness of a man who understood he had just witnessed something expensive. By 8:12 p.m., the house was nearly empty. By 8:19, it was just the three of us. Daniel stood by the table, one hand resting on the back of his chair like he needed it for balance. Lisa remained seated, the papers still in front of her, though she wasn't reading anymore. I put on my coat slowly. No rush, Dad, Daniel said. I paused, not turning yet. What? I asked. What happens now? A simple question. Late, but simple. I turned then. Now, I said. Now nothing happens. He frowned. That's not an answer. It is, I replied. It's just not the one you want. Lisa finally looked up. Her composure had returned, mostly, but there was a tightness around her eyes now. Something strained. You're serious? She said. Yes. You're actually cutting us off. I already have. That's not sustainable, she said quickly. We have obligations. The mortgage, the school, the I'm aware, I interrupted. Then you understand what this does to us. I considered that. I understand exactly what it does, I said. That's why I did it. Daniel took a step forward. Dad, come on. This isn't fair. I almost smiled. Fair, I repeated. Yes, after everything. After everything? I said, my voice sharpening slightly for the first time that evening. Let's talk about everything. He stopped. Good. $85,000 in 2011. I said, your house. Silence. Over $400,000 in direct support over the years. Lisa's jaw tightened. Another $742,000 transferred through that convenience account. Daniel looked away, and now I continued quieter again. You're standing here telling me this isn't fair. No one spoke. The clock on the wall ticked once, twice. I didn't keep score, I said. Not at the beginning. I didn't need to. I adjusted my coat sleeve, but you did. That landed. Lisa inhaled slowly. This isn't about numbers, she said. No, I agreed. It stopped being about numbers when you decided I was a problem to manage. Her eyes flickered, just for a second. That's not what You discussed my diminished capacity like it was a strategy, I said. You contacted an attorney. You planned to take control of what I built. Daniel shook his head. We were trying to help. Help, I said again. A softer word than it deserved. Help would have been asking. I continued. Help would have been respecting the answer. I picked up my gloves from the table. Instead, you calculated. No one argued that. They couldn't. At 8:27 p.m., my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Unknown number. I ignored it. It buzzed again and again, 3 times. Persistent. I sighed quietly and answered. Yes. Mr. Whitaker, a male voice said. Professional. Slightly rushed. Yes. This is Jonathan Pierce from Pierce & Holloway Financial. I apologize for the timing, but there's been an urgent issue regarding an account linked to your name. I felt Daniel's attention shift instantly. What kind of issue? I asked. An attempted authorization request, he said, earlier this evening, for a transfer of $250,000. The room went still again, completely. From which account? I asked. He named it. The old joint account. The one I had closed that morning. I see, I said. The request was flagged and blocked, he continued. Given the recent changes to your account structure, it triggered an automatic review. Of course it did. Daniel's face had gone pale. Lisa didn't move. Do you recognize the initiating party? The man asked. I looked directly at them. Both of them. Yes, I said. I thought you might, he replied carefully. Would you like to proceed with a formal report? A pause. Not long. Just enough. Yes, I said. Daniel stepped forward. Dad. I raised a hand. He stopped. Please include the recording I will be forwarding. I added into the phone. And mark it as attempted financial exploitation. Understood, the voice said. We'll begin immediately. The call ended. No one spoke, not for several seconds. Then, that wasn't, Daniel started. But he didn't finish, because there was nothing left to say that wouldn't make it worse. Lisa finally stood, slowly, deliberately. You're making a mistake, she said. I shook my head. No, I replied. I made one, for years. I walked to the door. Open it. Cool night air slipped inside. Clean. Quiet. Behind me, Daniel's voice came again. Softer this time. Different. Dad, please. I stopped. Just for a moment. Didn't turn around. You laughed at a $2 gift, I said, and tried to take $2 million behind my back. Silence. Then I stepped outside. Closed the door gently behind me. The drive home was quiet. No radio. Just the steady hum of the Buick and the soft rhythm of tires against asphalt. At a red light, I reached into my pocket and took out the duplicate lottery receipt. April 12.6:42 p.m. I looked at it again. Then I folded it carefully and put back. Not everything needs to be scratched to reveal its value. Some things you only understand after you stop giving them away. Stories like this happen more often than we think. By the way, where are you watching from? Drop your city or state below. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe to the channel.